On April 1st, an Israeli strike hit the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria, killing 7 people, including 2 senior commanders. The operation was an exercise in precision. It required the seamless integration of signals intelligence, tracking cell phones and car movements, and human intelligence from spies inside the embassy to confirm the exact time of the meeting. This follows a pattern of high-level assassinations, most notably the 2020 American drone strike on General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad, demonstrating a persistent technological dominance over Iranian forces. Iran responded with Operation True Promise. They launched a strike package of 300 drones and missiles directly from Iranian territory toward Israel. The result was statistically one-sided. Israeli and American defenses intercepted 99% of the projectiles, preventing any significant military damage. Despite this, Tehran claimed the operation was a success, arguing the attack was intentionally designed to be harmless. If we measure this conflict solely through physical destruction, the Iranian claim seems absurd. But in asymmetric warfare, strategic value is not always found in the wreckage. Iran cannot defeat a conventionally superior opponent in direct force-on-force combat. Instead, they must dictate the terms of engagement through asymmetry. This is the Iran strategy matrix. It is a 4-pillar framework that governs every geopolitical move the state makes. Success for Iran is not measured by the number of targets destroyed, but by how effectively an action satisfies these 4 specific objectives. This framework explains why a strike that caused no casualties can still function as a highly effective geopolitical weapon. The effectiveness of these tactics was demonstrated by the U.S. military itself. In 2002, they conducted the Millennium Challenge, a large-scale simulation of a ground invasion of Iran. The exercise pitted Team USA's technological dominance against a simulated Iranian force using asymmetric methods. The result was an Iranian victory in the first round. The simulated Iranian forces used low-tech solutions to bypass high-tech defenses, relying on motorcycle couriers to avoid electronic tracking, and deploying swarms of suicide boats to overwhelm sophisticated naval sensors. American military leaders responded by resetting the simulation. For the second round, they banned asymmetric tactics and forced the simulated Iranian team into a conventional fight, which the U.S. then won. This highlights the primary vulnerability of dominant powers, a reliance on rigid doctrines that struggle to adapt when an inferior opponent changes the rules of the game. Asymmetric warfare shifts the focus from physical conquest to economic attrition. A single American aircraft carrier is a billion-dollar asset. It represents a massive concentration of military capital and high-end technology. In an asymmetric exchange, that carrier can be threatened by a drone swarm costing $10 million. The math is simple. Mix a few armed drones costing $1,000 each, with thousands of decoys costing only $100. Iran applied this logic during Operation True Promise. Their entire strike package cost approximately $30 million. To stop that attack, the U.S. and Israel spent over $1 billion on high-tech interceptor missiles. While the dominant force wins the kinetic battle by stopping the drones, the attacker wins the economic exchange by forcing a disproportionately expensive defense.
This leads to the first pillar of Iran's strategy: unite the population. Despite domestic opposition, the state relies on historical memory to consolidate the public against foreign threats. In 1909, the British discovered oil in Persia and formed what we now call BP. Under their deal, Iran received only 16% of the profits. When the democratically elected government of Prime Minister Mossadegh attempted to renegotiate for a 50-50 split in 1953, the Western response was decisive. The US and UK launched a coup, removing the democracy and installing the Shah, whose brutal monarchy lasted until the 1979 revolution. This history of intervention created a political environment where a foreign invasion is likely to meet universal resistance from the Iranian people. The second pillar is to build alliances. Iran maintains a decentralized network known as the Axis of Resistance, proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis, while simultaneously seeking support from Russia and China. Russia benefits from a conflict that diverts U.S. resources away from Ukraine, and China requires a secure oil supply. To keep these powers invested, Iran must demonstrate both the will to fight and the ability to survive. These pillars transform historical trauma and regional partnerships into a resilient defensive posture that conventional military dominance cannot easily overcome. The third pillar is to win global opinion. By positioning itself against the conflict in Gaza, Iran leverages widespread international outrage to isolate its adversary diplomatically. This feeds into the final pillar: weaken the enemy coalition. Any invasion of Iran would require a broad coalition. Iran targets the stability of that coalition by fostering internal anti-war dissent in the West and creating friction between the U.S. and its regional partners. A successful strategy isolates the superpower while establishing the asymmetric actor as a necessary party in regional diplomacy. When we re-examine Operation True Promise through this matrix, the results look very different. Tehran satisfied the first pillar by demonstrating it can strike back against a superior force. It checked the second pillar by showing Russia and China its resolve against a major military power. By launching a bloodless strike, it satisfied the third pillar, maintaining global sympathy. Finally, it addressed the fourth pillar by forcing the U.S. to actively restrain its regional ally. This intervention highlighted a clear policy divide between Washington and Israel, creating the exact kind of coalition friction the matrix is designed to produce. While the strike failed to hit a military target, it fulfilled the strategic matrix's specific objectives. Any future conflict will likely be governed by strict rules of engagement between superpowers, such as a prohibition on tactical nuclear weapons to avoid global escalation. Russia and China will likely maintain strategic ambiguity, avoiding direct war while providing enough support to force a long-term drain on American resources. History suggests that empires often decline due to overextension, mounting debt, and domestic unrest. By forcing a superpower to engage in constant, high-cost defenses against low-cost threats, an asymmetric actor accelerates all three trends. In this new geopolitical environment, technological dominance no longer guarantees victory. The advantage belongs to those who can master the asymmetric matrix.